Visit uvlocal.com. Union Bank, a Vermont institution for over 130 years, rated best small bank in Vermont by Newsweek and the top performing publicly traded community bank in New England by the American Bankers Association. Union Bank, stay local, go far. Member FDIC.
New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, with a belief that local businesses like WDEV build strong communities. The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to wdev@radiovermont.com.
The energy. The guy told me I was no spring chicken anymore, and that's why my ankle was still hurting. I'm 33, not 133. The passion. The Red Sox handling of Xander Bogaerts is a complete organizational failure. The opinions on all your favorite teams. No, not this year, but it's next year where Bill Belichick ends up on the hot seat. This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com. What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show back at it here on a Wednesday on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. We're up until 6:40, 6:45-ish, and then it's high school basketball on the boys' side tonight. Harwood is traveling to Montpelier, and Brent Curtis is already courtside waiting for that coverage to begin. We got a lot to get to. Until then, though, Tom Caron, Red Sox insider at NESN, will be with us in about 15 minutes, talk about the Trevor Story stuff. We'll start off here momentarily with the Red Sox introducing or reintroducing Rafael Devers to the media and the fan base after signing that 10-year extension. We'll tell you what they said at that extension press conference. UVM is taking on UMass Lowell tonight in a game starting at 6, so we'll watch it as we talk, and we'll have some first-half takeaways for you before we get out of here. You can get in on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026, your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and in Morrisville. You can also get in on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and watch it always on my Twitter account, which is at WDEV Radio Brady.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go. The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. So, yes, the Red Sox got awful news yesterday regarding Trevor Story. Today, there was better news for the fan base. There was a press conference that re-announced Rafael Devers to the fan base after signing that mega extension. We did get some clarity, by the way, officially. It is a 10-year contract extension worth about $314 million. So Devers will play this season at the previously agreed upon 1 year for 17. So the total value of the contract is 11 years for about $331. But the new money is 10 for about 314. So we did get some clarification on that. So we had been wondering, okay, does the 11 years get added on top of what he's got this year? Does 11 years count as part of that? It counts as part of that. It's this year he already had plus 10 more. So nonetheless, Rafael Devers will be here for the next 11 seasons, beginning with this one. A bunch of audio came out of that press conference. Let's just rip through some of it. This one comes from Chief Baseball Officer Chaim Bloom.
Every organization dreams of developing star players. Rafael Devers is a star. He's one of the most feared hitters in the game. He has been the guy that we want up in the biggest situations, the guy that when you play us, you circle and you always know when his spot is coming up. He's not just a star, he's our star. It's a wonderful thing to retain a homegrown player who loves Boston and who Boston and Red Sox Nation loves back.
Look, you know how I feel. I generally like Chaim Bloom as a person. I generally think he's very, very smart. And I feel for him for having to take the arrows on a lot of this stuff that isn't all his fault. And I don't know exactly what he's supposed to say at this press conference. But what you just heard there, that makes me cringe as a fan. Like, yes, it's the right thing. I get it. It's great to have homegrown players. We all want that. We shower love on guys who are homegrown players. It's great when they love you right back. That's all true. I don't know what I want Chaim Bloom to say instead, but you can't say that with a straight face on the heels of what's happened with Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts. That is a cringeworthy statement for me to hear. Is it not for you? It's so awesome to have, Chaim Bloom says it's so great to have homegrown players, and it's so great to show them love when they show you love back. And here you are. You've had 2 other chances in the last 3 years to do that, and you failed. And you didn't try to do that. You tell me how great it is to have homegrown stars and how great it is to take care of them and love them and pray and shower them, but yet you didn't do it with Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts. I don't know what I want Chaim Bloom to say there, but that I roll my eyes when I hear that. Don't you? Don't you? That's like, let's just say this. You have an ex who, you're a woman, you have an ex who you really wanted to propose to you, okay? And the guy had an ex who he dated for 8 years and wouldn't propose. And then he had another ex who he dated for 5 years and wouldn't propose. And then the guy dates another woman and he finally proposes, and he's like, oh man, when you got a great one, you got to lock them up. And the other 2, what are they saying? They're saying, well, you had 2 other chances to marry us. You dated me for 8 years, you didn't do it. You dated me for 5 years, you didn't do it. We were together forever, and now you're going to say, oh, when you got a great one, you got to put a ring on it? Come on, buddy. You had 2 other chances to do that. That's exactly how I hear that statement. Like, that is an empty comment to me. Yes, it's great to hitch your wagon to Rafael Devers. It's great to have homegrown players that you believe in. You know what would have been great? Showing Mookie Betts the same love, showing Xander Bogaerts the same love. Don't tell me how great it is to have homegrown stars when the 2 previous times you've had chances to do that, you didn't. I mean, again, I don't know what the right answer is for Chaim Bloom at the press conference, but that to me, that ain't it. This was another one that I rolled my eyes at, to be honest with you. Again, I generally like Bloom. This is not all his fault, but this comment also had me rolling my eyes.
And I know y'all are smart, and you knew there would be ups and downs with where we stood and some of the things that we were going to have to go through. And you've been with us the whole way. When we've celebrated, you've celebrated with us. When we've hurt, you've hurt, and we know that, and we feel it. So I'm hoping today, when you think about what we always talk about and where we're going, and this vision of a Red Sox organization that every year is consistently contending for championships, I'm hoping that vision's a little clearer for you today, knowing that this guy's going to be right at the middle of it, what we're going to do around him.
Hopefully the vision became clear today. I got news for you, Chaim Bloom. For the average fan, the Red Sox vision is not clear. Just signing Rafael Devers long-term does not make the vision clear, because you can let me know, 802-585-3026. I don't think the average fan gets what's going on here. Right? You all are the average fan out there. So you let me know if you get what the Red Sox plan is, because I see the average Joe, the average Jill out there. Okay, they're married, they got 2 kids, they got a full-time job. They don't have all day to study this stuff. And I don't think that those people with other things going on in their lives, I don't think they get the plan. I believe I've got the plan, but I study this all day, every day for a living. I don't think it's clear to the average fan what's happening here. You say, oh, I hope it got made clearer today. It didn't. The average fan, you know what the average fan sees? They see that two of the best players on the team have gone in the last 3 years, Mookie Betts and Xander Bogaerts. They see that J.D. Martinez is now gone. They see the overall offense is worse. The average fan hears about a commitment to youth in the minor leagues and then sees you going out and signing 100-year-old Kenley Jansen and Justin Turner and furrows their brow. I think the average fan is generally confused by what's happening with the Red Sox. I don't think the average fan thinks anything is more clear today. The average fan, I think, needs me to come in and be an intermediary and tell you what's going on. Steve says, I rolled my eyes as well at those Chaim Bloom comments. So, well, there you go. There's one, at least on my side. And I don't believe that the average fan has a clear idea what's going on. Again, I'm studying this every single day. And when I'm not doing the news, I'm reading up on all of this. I think I've got it, but it takes me that level of commitment and that level of time spent to come up with what I think the Red Sox plan is. I believe the Red Sox plan is to provide themselves short-term flexibility while working towards long-term sustainability. That's what I think the plan is, but I don't think the average fan sees that. The Red Sox want to be good in the long term. That's why they have Rafael Devers. That's why they invest in Yoshida for 5 years. That's why they have a commitment to prospect development and a commitment to the draft and a commitment to so far not trading their prospects. They want to be good in the long term for a long time. They also think they want to be good in the short term, but they want to have flexibility in that. They don't want short-term money to impact long-term money. That's why you have so many short-term deals on this team. They want to be good, but if they're not good, they want easily tradable contracts or easy contracts to get out of. Jansen's a 2-year deal, and Martin's a 2-year deal, and Turner's a 1-year deal with an option. They want contracts that are easy to trade. So I think that I get the plan. I think that I see the plan. I think that I understand it. But Chaim Bloom says, I hope the vision became clear for you today. I don't think the vision is clear to the Red Sox. Or to Red Sox average fans. I think the average fan sees a collection of moves and they're not quite sure what they all mean. That's what they mean. I'm telling you. The Red Sox moves are, we want to do everything we can to be good in the long term. Well, we'd like to be good in the short term. And if we're not, then we have flexibility to then be good in the long term still. I think that's exactly what the Red Sox are. If the Red Sox are bad at the end of June, Kenley Jansen, Justin Turner, those are easily tradable deals. Chris Martin's an easily tradable deal. I think that's what the Red Sox are going for right now. We want to be good long term. Everything we do will not impact that. We'd also like to be good short term, but if we're not, we'll start flipping things so that we're good long-term again, so that we can add to the long-term goal. That's the plan. I don't think it became more clear just because you signed and extended Rafael Devers. It's nice that you did it. You needed to do it. But I don't think it just all of a sudden made things very, very clear. This is one thing I will also wonder. Before we get to TC, I got to say this. If you could have a mulligan, I wonder what the Red Sox would pick. If I told you you can only end up with one of the big three, Betts, Bogaerts, and Devers, is Devers the one that you would want? That's what I wonder. Is if you could only get one of the big three, is Devers the one that you want, or is Devers just the last man who was standing? We're never going to know. It's the thing that I'll always wonder. Right? First job that I ever had. You know this. I was in Albany. There were 3 part-timers. All of us, 3 part-timers. And we were all the same age, and we were all relatively the same skill level. One guy was better behind the scenes. I was better on air. Another guy was good at this. So we all kind of had our niche. But we were 3 guys, all the same. All of us wanted to be full-time. None of us were made full-time. First guy said, I can't take it anymore. He left. Now there were 2 left. I went and said to them, I want to be full-time. They wouldn't make me, so I left. What happened the minute that I left? The last guy remaining got made full-time. Now, is that because he was the best or because he was the last one standing? I'll never know. And I wonder what happened if that same thing has happened with the Red Sox. Is Devers the guy that they want out of those three, or is he just the last one left? It's the Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I spoke to Tom Caron today earlier, TC, our Red Sox and Bruins insider over at NESN. He and I spoke before the Devers deal, or before the Devers presser, but we spoke a lot about Trevor Story as a result of Devers not having happened yet. So I said, TC, how are you?
I'm doing well, Brady. How you doing?
I'm doing better than I was when I spoke to you a week ago, although a little stuffy still at times, but generally good. You know, we're taping this in advance today, in advance of the Rafael Devers extension press conference. So unfortunately, we have to focus mostly on the bad news of yesterday, which was that Trevor Story is going to miss anywhere between half and all of the season, it sounds like. And that sounds like a catastrophic blow for a team that could ill afford one.
Yeah, the offseason from hell continues for Chaim Bloom, right? It's, you were a last-place team a year ago with Xander Bogaerts and with Trevor Story. And Bogaerts is long gone. And Story, it sounds like maybe the All-Star break is a best-case scenario, but you heard Chaim Bloom on Tuesday say, we can't bank on that. So what do they bank on? At this point, the only guy on the roster who's played half a season at shortstop is Kike Hernandez, and that's the third position they'd like him at. They'd rather have him in center field, and if not center field, second base. So this is a mess. You know, you've got Christian Arroyo, who has not been able to stay on the field and stay healthy, so he'll be part of the mix, but you're going to need to prop him up. Clearly now, with everyone knowing they are desperate, they're going to have to try to go out on the free agent market and in the trade market and do something. And you're not going to find Trevor Story, and you're not going to find Xander Bogaerts, certainly, and you're not going to find Carlos Correa because you're a day late on that. So it's a mess. It doesn't get much worse than this.
Talk to me a little bit about the timing, because that's what's got everybody, I think, bent out of shape here. Like, the Story elbow issues were known. We knew this. Buster Olney told us multiple times last offseason that teams were hesitant to sign him, period, because of his elbow. So clearly he's had an elbow issue. He's played an entire seasons with an elbow issue. The data on his arm strength is very clear that there's a problem there. Why not get something done at the end of last season? But then I see Chaim Bloom says this is a new elbow issue, not the old one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't make a guy undergo surgery, all right? I mean, that's
right.
Simple as that. And I've talked to Trevor Story about that, of course, last year, and he was very quick to shoot down any talk that there was a problem with his elbow. I've asked him about it, because as you said, the data shows the speed and velocity of his throws have declined now over the last two seasons. But Story's a little bit of a weird guy to gauge that way because he makes his throws on the run. That's his style. And so quite often it's kind of an off-speed kind of shovel pass, if you want to call it that he's throwing, especially at second base, where at the beginning of last year he was still adjusting to the new position. You'd think it's easier to throw from a shorter distance, but it's different, whatever it is. And so, and then there was the Heyman report that he wanted to rest it and avoid surgery. And then Kike Hernandez put a poop emoji on top of that to show that at least in the eyes of the players, was BS. I don't know. I don't know if this was a concern, why you wouldn't do it. It feels so much like Chris Sale, doesn't it? Not this last round of Chris Sale issues last year, the previous round of Chris Sale issues when he didn't undergo the Tommy John surgery. And then in 2020, during the pandemic, after an entire offseason had passed, he underwent Tommy John surgery, which effectively pushed him off another season. Had Trevor Story done this at the end of last year, he'd be getting ready for spring training probably. And so it hurts. But, again, the rest – they'll never say this. They didn't say it yesterday. Maybe we'll learn more today or in the coming days that maybe Story starting his throwing program, but going back to shortstop where you have to throw with more strength and you have to throw with more velocity. Maybe that's when he started feeling it and said, oh boy, I don't know if I can move back to shortstop. We haven't heard that yet, but that would probably be my guess, right? That you think you can get through it, but you go back to shortstop. Listen, this guy had been incredibly durable since before coming to Boston. You look over the last 5 years, he played 87% of his games or more. That includes 59 out of 60 in the COVID year. But in the 140s every other year, there was no sign, hint, or indication that this guy was going to have injury troubles. They signed him, he comes to Boston, and you can't keep him on the field. So you can't blame Chaim Bloom for an injury, but the timing, you're absolutely right. It seems the worst possible case for the Sox.
As far as I'm concerned, there's 3 options for the Red Sox. I'll lay them out for you and see which one you like best. One, which I like better than all of the rest, is trade for Ha-Seong Kim of the Padres and just put him at shortstop. He is disposable now for them. The other one is Christian Arroyo plays second, and you're signing Elvis Andrus or Jose Iglesias off the free agent market, and they play short. And the third one, which I hate, is Kike at short, Arroyo at second, and you're bringing in Jackie Bradley Jr. to patrol center field. That's the way, because you're going to need a good center fielder because Yoshida apparently isn't a good left fielder, so you're going to need someone good in center, and JBJ would fit that. But again, that's last on my list. Do you like any of my 3, or do you have secret door number 4?
Well, Ha-Seong Kim is obvious. I'm with you. I think that's he is expendable. So is Trent Grisham, by the way, for the Padres. Yes. So maybe you make a little bit of a bigger deal for the 2 of them. Could you Tanner Houck, I would think, is a guy who would get some interest. Not sure Dahlbeck really fits into the Padres plan, but he would give them minor league depth. And then you dig into the minor league. So maybe it's something along those lines. None of those are exciting. On the free agent market, Iglesias would be my choice. We saw when he came here the last time, a couple of years ago, he actually hit better than he has really at just about any stage of his career. And he knows Boston. He can use the wall. He got a good relationship with Alex Cora, and is even at this age is still a good defender. You don't know what you'd get out of his bat, but he can play the field and is a fit in Boston, I think. So I think that's frankly, those, to me, you make those 2 moves. Okay, you sign Iglesias, and then you trade for Kim. And then you've got now a little bit of depth, and you sprinkle Arroyo in around that. You keep Kike out in center field. You don't sign Jackie Bradley Jr. Maybe you continue to cross your fingers and pray that Jaron Duran can become something, and Rob Refsnyder can play a little bit of center field as a depth guy. So, that way, if I'm right now looking at what I think is available, and who knows what really is, I figure out a way to trade for Kim, trying to use Houck as the centerpiece of that. I sign Iglesias, which now gives me a couple of pieces of depth. I'm using Arroyo at second base and shortstop when I need to. Kike can cover second base when you need to. Refsnyder can cover center field, and you continue to develop Duran. To me, that is probably the easiest and safest avenue to get out of this.
Tom Caron, Red Sox Bruins insider over at NESN. The steamer projections were out today for Masataka Yoshida. Pretty good projections for him. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but 19 home runs, 298 average, 388 on base, 479 slugging, 140 WRC plus, which makes him, significantly better than an average major league player. That sounds pretty good. I would take that.
No, absolutely. And that is, the upside of the signing of Yoshida is the bat to ball skills that he can hit. And with a restricted shift this year, and there should be a little bit of predictability for a guy like that to be able to get base hits in the shallow outfield through the holes. Although it's funny, you talk to the Red Sox people about that, and they actually think that he might have been better served with the shift because he's a guy who can beat the shift. Right? He's a guy who's going to pull the shift. He can slap it the other way. So either way, I think this is a guy who's going to get hits. The 19 home runs, that's great for not a big guy who did show power in Japan, but against Major League pitching, I would not have expected that kind of power from him. But if you're going to get an 800-plus OPS out of him, the WRC plus that you talked about, I mean, that would be a great addition to this team and would really make up for some of the lost offense here with Bogarts and Story. I do think that this team is starting to shift into a very different team than we've seen the last few years, in that they actually are going to try to pitch and play defense as opposed to hit, right? They hit the ball last year. They couldn't pitch, and the defense was suspect. in a lot of areas. So, and when you go back to pitching, I do like the bullpen. I think if Story and Bogarts were healthy and up the middle on this team, you'd be really happy with what they've done in this offseason, because I think the bullpen has been completely renovated. The pitching on the starting side, that's the question. There's a lot of ifs there. If Sale is healthy, if Paxton can come back, if Kluber can stay healthy for another year, if Bayo continues to develop, if Whitlock shows he's a starter and not a reliever, you've got a rotation. If they don't, you're in big trouble. But if they do, this team could pitch and play some defense and maybe win a few low-scoring games.
You know, we didn't get a chance to talk last week about the Devers deal because it broke, pretty much right after we spoke. So yeah. I got to say it's effectively a 10-year extension for Devers. I know Chaim Bloom and John Henry get a lot of criticism. I think this one is a total home run. Not only did you lock up Devers, you locked him up at a price point that I thought was way less than I thought it was going to take to get him. I thought it was going to be in the 15-year and $400 million range to be able to buy him out of looking at the other teams next offseason. I think this has a chance to be the best of any decade-long contract ever signed by a guy on his second contract, not a Julio Rodriguez, Wander Franco early extension. I think this has a chance to be the best decade-plus contract in Major League history, TC.
Yeah, because you're getting a guy who who theoretically should just be entering his prime baseball years, and that's what's unusual about Devers. He made his Major League debut before he could legally buy a drink, and that means he hits free agency far younger than most guys. This isn't a 30-year-old guy that you're signing into his 40s. This is a guy in his mid, not even late 20s, where you're going to have money control till, I guess it's 37 technically, when he goes into that first year of free agency. But that's your prime baseball. Maybe, again, 35, 36, 37, who knows? But it's not 41, 42, 43. That's a big difference to me. I think it's a big difference to Chaim Bloom. I do think, and this should have been the victory lap week for the Red Sox before the Story news. That's what's tough about all this. But I do think you start to see now, but you hope anyway, that the Red Sox have turned the corner. Okay, they, at the end of the day, they can say priority A and they can say everything they want about Bogarts, but they clearly did not want to sign him into his 40s. Okay, and I understand that. Take away the emotion. I understand a baseball team not wanting to do that, okay? Betts is a different story. They messed that one up totally, but that was messed up before Bloom got here. He just had to be the guy to pull the trigger and rip the Band-Aid off and move on. Okay, so Betts and Bogarts are gone. Now you see the long-term deal for Devers at a young age. Whitlock gets locked up quickly, right? The Yoshida deal, while it's a fair amount of money, is, again, a guy who is going to be in his early 30s. All of these deals, Trevor Story under contract to his early 30s. I'm 33, 34 years old. I would expect now you start to see in the next year or two, Tristan Casas getting locked up if he is anything close to what you expect him to be. Brian Bayo any good? You lock him up, okay? Then Marcelo Meyer gets up here in a couple of years. Mayer gets locked up. This is now the Chaim Bloom team. You're still getting through the ugliness of the transition of it, but this is what he said he would do when he got here. Build a sustainable winner. You did that with young players, not just young prospects, but young enough players to be here in their prime. Trevor Story was a free agent signing, but signed to a term that kept him here for his prime baseball years. That's what I think we're starting to see now. And the Devers, that deal was the fork in the road. If you lose Devers, or if we spend all of next year talking about is Devers staying or going, that's the young guy in his prime that you let get away. And now that makes me question everything. Locking him up, to me, further defines what Bloom and the Red Sox are trying to do.
TC, much appreciate your time. As always, we'll catch up again next week. Hopefully less bad Red Sox news, which means conversation about good Bruins news, where they're still the best team in the NHL going away right now. And with the Patriots done, we're going to be transitioning into a hockey and hoops mode here shortly.
All right, we'll tease it for next week. But, next week we talk about the Bruins, and we're going to have the conversation about not just the best team in the NHL, best team in NHL history. I mean, they are on track to get in that conversation. And it's they just keep doing it. The West Coast trip had all the trappings of a letdown run after the Winter Classic and back-to-back games in 22 hours. They just keep getting it done. 4 regulation losses. It's just crazy.
Unbelievable. So, TC, we'll talk next week. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Brady. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That was my talk earlier today with Tom Caron, Red Sox and Bruins insider over at NESN. TC with us every single Wednesday. I also spoke to Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio earlier today. We're going to use some of that audio tomorrow, but both of those interviews are already up on our podcast channels at Apple Podcasts and Spotify. A lot of good stuff from TC as always. I want to come and put a final bow on some of our conversation and give you a couple of other little Red Sox nuggets that came out today, including something very interesting that Alex Cora had to say about how the team might handle shortstop. I'll tell you what that is after the CBS News update. That's next here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 91 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. We're following breaking news now. CBS News has learned more classified documents have been found in another location once used by President Biden. CBS's Matt Piper has the latest.
The documents marked classified from Joe Biden's tenure as vice president were discovered at least one additional location. This on top of the initial discovery of 10 classified documents found at the Penn Biden Center in November. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says there's a double standard after classified documents were found at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago.
This is a man that's been in office for more than 40 years. This is a man who prides himself on knowing all of this. Why does he treat people different?
The White House is not saying much, citing an ongoing Department of Justice review. Matt Piper, CBS News.
A bit of a cancer scare for First Lady Jill Biden today at Walter Reed. CBS's Steve Dorsey.
A surgery removed a small cancerous lesion above her right eye. Another cancerous lesion was found on her chest. That was also removed. And tissue at a third spot on her left eyelid was also removed and sent for examination.
Thousands of flights have been canceled or delayed today following a nationwide ground stop.
One woman flying to Bogota, Colombia through Miami says she feels lucky.
It says on time. Then I checked in, it said on time. So right now I'm feeling a little good.
But another says she's waiting to go through security until she knows her flight to South Korea will stay on schedule.
Well, just one step at a time.
Airports across the country are urging people to keep an eye on their airline schedule for any changes through the day. Alan Skaya for CBS News at DFW Airport.
The White House says there is no evidence of a cyber attack that triggered the outage. About 30,000 students and staff will be back in class in Des Moines, Iowa tomorrow. Schools there have been closed for 2 days over an apparent cyber attack on its computer system. In California, parts of the state are getting a bit of a relief ahead of more storms.
This has been a day to clean up and assess the damage before the heavy rains return. This woman found a certain irony in the massive amounts of rain coming in the midst of California's record drought.
No water for 2 years and then more water than we got in 2 years in 24 hours.
If there is something good resulting from the storms, many dams and reservoirs which were nearly dry are now full. Steve Futterman, CBS News, Los Angeles.
In Georgia, the feds have indicted 76 people in a major gang-related drug ring in state prisons. U.S. Attorney David Estes.
There are allegations outlined in the indictment that drugs were smuggled into the prison with the assistance of an employee of the Georgia Department of Corrections, and they were activities that were coordinated from inside Georgia Department of Corrections to the outside regarding the distribution of controlled substances.
At least 3 gangs were involved here. This is CBS News.
Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance coverage. Liberty Mutual customizes your car and home insurance so you only pay for what you need. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
Hey everybody, I'm Lee Cattell. Have your lunch with Brady Farkas and me weekdays on the Midday News Service. The latest local news, Brady's Sports Report, Roger Hill updates from the Forecast Center, plus business, interviews, and breaking news as it happens. The Midday News Service, weekdays during the noon hour on Vermont's news and sports leader, WDEV FM and AM. Streamed at WDEVradio.com.
It's 1, 2, 3 to start 2023 at Lamoille Valley Ford. Here's Rick the Kid.
We want to thank all our customers and friends for helping us reach our goal in the countdown to 4,000 vehicles sold last year, continuing our run as Vermont's highest volume Ford dealer. Now, to kick off the new year, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3 in January 23 at Lamoille Valley Ford. On any in-stock new Ford Escape, Edge, or Explorer, you can take $1,000 off MSRP. And Lamoille Valley Ford will double that discount to $2,000 on any new F-150 in stock. Plus, during January, Lamoille Valley Ford will discount any pre-owned vehicle on our lot, including our huge selection of certified pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs, $3,000. At Lamoille Valley Ford, we have by far the largest inventory of new Fords in Vermont, along with a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles. And we have instructed our entire team to make deals and earn your business.
Woo! You heard, Rick. You don't have to settle for an ugly vehicle, and you definitely don't need to pay more than you should. So drive Route 14, 50, or 60 to Hardwick, where it's as simple as 1, 2, 3 to start 2023 at Lamoille Valley Ford.
This is David Goodman. Join me every Wednesday at 1 o'clock for the Vermont Conversation, brought to you by vtdigger.org, Vermont's nonprofit news source. I'll talk with national and local change makers from the worlds of politics, social and racial justice, science, education, and the environment who are having an impact on our daily lives. You can also hear the Vermont Conversation at vtdigger.org or sign up for our podcasts. Join me and take part in the Vermont Conversation Wednesdays at 1 here on WDEV.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. UVM men's basketball has just tipped off with UMass Lowell. We will get out of here likely a little after halftime, so we'll probably have some first half takeaways for you. We'll keep you posted. UVM is out to a 2-0 start, but both of these teams are 2-1 inside America East Place. This is a big matchup, and UVM comes into it shorthanded, and UVM can really ill afford to be shorthanded. Finn Sullivan not going to play today with illness, and TJ Hurley, the freshman who was a 2-time back-to-back freshman rookie of the week, he's out right now with a leg injury. He did not play last week either, or on Sunday either, I should say, against UNH. UVM is up early 5-3 in this one. But again, I've got it on here. I'll monitor it. We'll have some takeaways for you as we get down towards halftime before we get out of here at about 6:40. We have high school basketball tonight on the boys' side, Harwood and Montpelier. Brent Curtis on the call. All right, I want to put some finishing touches on Tom Caron's conversation and on the Red Sox. Number one, I am with TC. As I told you yesterday, I would absolutely call the San Diego Padres. I would call them about Ha-Seong Kim to play shortstop, but I'm with TC that I would also inquire about outfielder Trent Grisham. So I mentioned Kim yesterday. I mentioned Grisham a few weeks ago on social media, but I didn't mention him on the show. I'd absolutely call on him also. I think he's 26 years old. He's young. He's athletic. He hits for power. He had a terrible offensive season last year, but he's a Gold Glove defender out there in the outfield. He, too, is disposable for those loaded Padres. He would open up more flexibility to you defensively also. So I'd call the Padres. You need to get Ha-Seong Kim. If you want to compete in 2023, Ha-Seong Kim is the guy that you need. He is the must-have. He needs to be this team's shortstop if they seek to compete. But if you get Grisham, then you have even more flexibility, right? Kim can play short. Grisham can play center. Kike can play second. That would be an option that I could live with. You need a really good center fielder on this roster because Masataka Yoshida, who is supposed to be an excellent offensive player, is not a very good defensive player. So Verdugo's he's above average in right. Yoshida's going to be below average in left. You're going to need a center fielder that can cover some ground and can make some plays. And I either want Kike to be there or I want Grisham to be there, and then Kike can come into second. But if you're looking for this team to be the best version of itself in 2023, those are calls I would make. Ha-Seong Kim, to me, is a must. He needs to be at shortstop. Okay? In my world, he's at short. Christian Arroyo's at second. Kike's in center. TC adds in Grisham, which then allows you the flexibility to put Kike at second. I'm okay with that too. Kim is the must. He has to happen. He must happen for this team as far as I'm concerned. Grisham would be a nice bonus, but Kim is the guy who you've got to go out and get. You've got to go out and get him as far as I'm concerned. Continuing with the shortstop conversation, though, one thing that kind of throws a wrench in all of that is that Alex Cora said today they are considering Kike Hernandez at shortstop. Yeah, I hope that's just a consideration until you call Ha-Seong Kim or until you call the Padres about Ha-Seong Kim. I do not want to see Kike Hernandez at shortstop. I don't. He's got 100 games at shortstop in his career, but he is a very good center fielder. He's also a very good second baseman. I do not want my guys playing their third of three positions. I'm kind of closed off to the idea of anybody but Kim playing. I can open my eyes to Jose Iglesias or to Elvis Andrus. I do not want to put Kike Hernandez there. I want him playing somewhere where he is really good and he's a known commodity. He's a known commodity at second base. He's a known commodity in center field. He's got a far smaller sample size at shortstop from a couple of years back in his career. That's not something that I want to do. Not something that I want to do. Cora also mentioned the idea of Jarren Duran still being a factor. Duran can be a factor as a fourth outfielder, as a pinch runner, as a guy to come off the bench and take a swing against righties. I'm all for that. You don't need to jettison the kid forever. There's still some talent in there to work with, but he's not starting for me. If this team goes into the season with Jarren Duran in center, Kike Hernandez at short, and Kristen Arroyo at second, you are absolutely asking for disaster. That would be absolute disaster zone as far as I'm concerned. Kike needs to be in center or at second. Arroyo needs to be at second or needs to be my utility guy. Kim needs to be at short. That's it. Those are the answers. Kike, I don't want it short. I don't want him there. Second or center, one of his two best positions, please, not his third best position. And I don't want Duran starting. That absolutely cannot happen. 802-585-3026. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line is open. Again, at that number, 802-585-3026. Elsewhere on the Red Sox, as I talked about with TC, the projections on Masataka Yoshida, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Remember, this is the Japanese import who's 29 years old. Red Sox signed him to a 5-year, $90 million deal. The projections on him are out. 19 home runs, a 298 average, a 388 on base percentage, and a 479 slugging percentage. I saw other projections that kind of think if he hits just kind of the midpoint of his potential, that'd be 20 home runs and a 305 average. Either one of those would be extremely good. If he hits either of those numbers, I would give Chaim Bloom in the front office an absolute A for landing Masataka Yoshida. 19, 20 home runs, 295, 305 batting average, that absolutely works for me. If he hits those numbers, you'd have Devers, Yoshida, and Justin Turner. That would profile as probably above average offensive players, with Tristan Casas getting better as the year goes on, I'm sure. Kike could be pretty good. You'd start to build the inner workings of a decent offensive profile if Yoshida can be that guy. And Yoshida is kind of the key to everything, is he not? Look, let's call a spade right now. We love what the Red Sox have done with the bullpen. We hate what the Red Sox have done with the starting rotation. The swing move is Yoshida. If Yoshida's really good, then we say, okay, they were pretty good on two of the three, 2/3 of their work this offseason. If Yoshida's bad, and they're only good on 1/3 of it, then that's a problem. Yoshida's the swing guy. If he hits these numbers, 19 home runs, doesn't strike out much. This has him with more walks than strikeouts. A near 500 on slugging percentage. This would be absolutely huge. If he hits that, you'd be getting elite offense out of Devers. You'd be getting above average offense out of Turner, above average offense out of Yoshida, a growing presence in Casas. Verdugo, you'd probably be slightly above average. Kike could be slightly above average. If these guys can put it together, there would be something to be excited about. The team doesn't have great depth. The team can't afford more injuries like they got yesterday with Story. But the inner workings of the lineup could be pretty good if Yoshida can hit these numbers. The one thing that I wonder about is now how does the Trevor Story injury impact Yoshida's spot in the lineup? Yoshida's projected to be a leadoff hitter. That's what he's supposed to be. With Story out and the middle of the order presence gone, does Yoshida have to bounce now to the middle of the order? I don't know that answer. And we're going to talk to Buster Olney tomorrow. But when you think about this lineup, I don't know exactly how it profiles now. Without Story in it, I'm not sure. Is it Yoshida in the leadoff spot, Turner hitting second, Devers hitting third, Casas hitting fourth, and then who knows in the from 5 on? I don't know. Does Kike lead off and Yoshida hits second and Devers is third and now Turner's fourth and Casas is fifth and Verdugo is sixth? Maybe. That could be this. That could be how this is done. I just don't know. When we talk to Buster tomorrow, we'll ask him this question. The Trevor Story injury impacts the lineup massively. If they go get Ha-Seong Kim, I think he could probably hit in the 2 spot. Yoshida 1, Kim 2, Devers 3, Turner 4, Casas 5, Verdugo 6. And then right now the slop of the lineup 7, 8, 9. Or Kike could hit 6th and Verdugo could hit 7th and then, 8, 9. The lineup doesn't have as much depth as it's had in years past. What they do with Yoshida, to me, will be very, very interesting because he profiles as a good top-of-the-order bat. I don't know yet how the Story injury impacts everything. A couple of other things on the Red Sox here that are smaller. Alex Cora said that Yoshida is going to the World Baseball Classic, so that's tough, right? As a Red Sox fan, you want to see him bond with his teammates. You want to see him hit major league pitching. He's going to go to the World Baseball Classic. He's going to play with Team Japan. They profile to go deep into the tournament, so you could be without Yoshida for a 3-week period or so, and that would be tough as you're trying to reintegrate him to the team, to his teammates, and to all-American pitching, or all Major League Baseball pitching, although he'll undoubtedly see good pitching at the WBC level. So Yoshida's going to be gone. Devers is gone at the World Baseball Classic as well. He's going to play for the Dominican Republic. Verdugo's going to play in the WBC. So is Duran. So is Nick Pivetta. He's going to play for Canada. Kike Hernandez is going to play for Puerto Rico. Kenley Jansen's going to be gone for the Netherlands. So you have a large contingent of your team there that's going to be gone for a good portion of spring training playing in the World Baseball Classic. I mean, we look at this. Yoshida, Devers, Verdugo, Pivetta, Kike, Jansen, and Duran. That's like 7 players. And you're also going to be out a couple of coaches at the World Baseball Classic. And Story was set to play in the World Baseball Classic. So this is an interesting time for the Red Sox as, spring training, they're going to be awfully light. Now, it's going to give some opportunities to guys to try to make impressions, and that's great for those players. But for a team cohesion, for integrating new players, that's going to be tough. Now, for a guy like Kenley Jansen, I think he'll get more out of pitching in the WBC than he will pitching in meaningless spring training games. For Pivetta, I think, it's interesting for a starter. I have to assume he'll start for Team Canada, so he'll still get his work in, but you always worry about injuries when it comes to starting pitchers in these things who are then not under the supervision of their own coaching staff. So Yoshida's the one that I'm going to miss for sure. Beyond that, I'm kind of okay with everybody else. You just pray that no one else gets injured. But Yoshida, I would have liked to see be here as well. And finally, on the Red Sox have traded pitcher Darwinzon Hernandez to the Orioles. They do that for cash considerations. This one's tough because Darwinzon Hernandez is a guy that I wanted to get behind, and I got behind a couple years ago, right? I think we saw him for the first time in either 2019 or in the COVID season of 2020. But, I know the prospects, people want to hoard prospects, and then sometimes they turn out like Darwinzon Hernandez. I wanted Hernandez to be good. He just wasn't. He's only 26 years old. He's got a good arm. He throws hard. He's left-handed. He doesn't really have a second pitch, and he doesn't throw a lot of strikes. That's why he's gone. Last year, he pitched in only 7 games, had an ERA of nearly 22. He's got a career ERA of over 5. Maybe the Orioles could unlock something, but he's a prospect that I wanted to get behind that ultimately didn't pan out for the Red Sox. So that's tough to see there. That's tough to see that it didn't go that way. That's another guy, Jeter, Downs, et cetera, that hasn't gone our way. UVM right now tied with UMass Lowell, 12 minutes left in that first half. The score is at 12-12. So, again, we'll keep you posted here as we move through the rest of the show for the next 20 minutes or so. But for UVM, Matt Veretto currently has 5 points. Iliri Iofalier has 3. Robin Duncan and Aaron Deloney each have 2. Without Finn Sullivan and without TJ Hurley, this is a game where Dylan Penn's got to get going. And thus far, 8 minutes played, just 1 shot taken, 0 for 1. They got to find a way. He's got to find a way to get going here as this team looks to get a victory and looks to move to 3-1 inside conference play. Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, they met today. What came out of that meeting? We'll tell you about it next on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima Tax Relief is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and their team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
My name is Bob Lake. I'm the CEO of Green Mountain Credit Union. Vermont is seeing a lot of changes in the banking community. One financial institution that is not changing is Green Mountain Credit Union. We pride ourselves on providing our customers with a personal banking experience that meets their needs. Green Mountain Credit Union is a full-service financial institution. It's old-school lending with 21st century technology. I invite you to stop by one of our locations in South Burlington, Rutland, and Berlin. At Green Mountain Credit Union, it's people helping people since 1959.
Lots of businesses are hiring right now, offering great benefits, but there's one perk that surpasses them all.
Ski for free!
At Mad River Glen, you can work full or part-time and
ski for free!
Following positions are now open. Parking lot attendants, lift operators, ticket checkers, line cooks. Enjoy discounts with local partnering businesses at Mad River Glen, including reciprocal skiing privileges. Fill out an application online at madriverglen.com/employment.
A tree can be a warrior, battling global challenges with greater courage. A tree can be a solution, cleaning our air, supporting our communities, and protecting our wildlife. A tree can be noble, growing hope in every corner of the world. That's why now is the time for trees. millions of trees. Join our planting movement at arborday.org.
It's that time to start planning for your 2023 maple sugaring season, and time to partner up with the Mile Supply Company and CDL Maple Sugaring Supplies. Find all your sugar house needs to get you geared up and ready to boil Vermont's liquid gold. Check out all the CDL inventory, tubing, mainline, fittings, vacuum pumps, wood splitter, and processor available to rent, and much more. The Mile Supply Company and CDL Maple Sugaring Supplies on Boynton Street, your local sugar house resource. The Mile Supply Company, family owned and building relationships since 1954.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here at WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. I will tell you about the Patriots meeting Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick had today, but I want to answer this text first on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. It's a question I get a lot. I get this question almost every day. I feel like we've addressed it, but I will address it one more time here. Do the Red Sox owners care anymore? That's the question. This is just me, right? They say they do. Tom Werner today was at the Devers press conference and said they're not selling the team. He's 72 years old. He wants to win multiple more World Series titles. John Henry feels the same way. That's what they say. Of course, they're going to say that. I believe that Red Sox ownership does care. I believe that Red Sox ownership wants to win. But I think that Red Sox ownership wants to win in a different way. I think that it has been pretty clearly proven that the best way to run a baseball team is not to just spend willy-nilly over and over and over again. The best way to win in baseball is to win with homegrown players, is to win with cultivated talent. So I think that Red Sox ownership wants to win, but they want to win in the way that everybody else is winning. And the way that everybody else is winning is generally more fiscally responsible than the way fans want to win. Look at how teams are winning these days. The Houston Astros, okay, how are they winning? Prospect development, international signings, homegrown players. And then you've developed such a glut of all of that you can go out and make trades. When's the last time the Astros signed a mega free agent that wasn't their own? The answer is this year, Jose Abreu. But the team that just won the World Series was built on draft, develop, and sign. Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman and Framber Valdez and Jose Urquidy and Luis Garcia. That's how that team was built. Yes, they traded for Justin Verlander, but because of all their prospect capital. Look at the Dodgers. Even the Dodgers. Yes, the Dodgers can go out and spend a bunch of money, but look at the team that just won the World Series for them in the COVID 2020 season. How'd they do it? Corey Seager, homegrown. Julio Urias, homegrown. Walker Buehler, homegrown. Clayton Kershaw, homegrown. Yes, they acquired Mookie Betts and signed him, but they traded for him with their prospect capital. Kenley Jansen, homegrown. Justin Turner off the scrap heap. Max Muncy off the scrap heap. KK Hernandez off the scrap heap at the time. That's how the Dodgers won it. The 2021 Braves, how'd they win it? Well, look at all their young pitching. Ian Anderson and Max Fried, homegrown players. And Freddie Freeman, homegrown player for them. Ronald Acuna, Ozzie Albies, homegrown players. That's how these teams are doing it. More fiscally responsible. More draft developed guys. Even the Yankees, you look at it, they're not buying everybody. Now, they went out this year and got Rodon, but before that, Garrett Cole was the only big move they'd made for several years. The only big money move they'd made for several years. The baby Bombers were built on Aaron Judge and Gleyber Torres and Gary Sanchez. I guess I could throw Aroldis Chapman into the spending for them a few years prior to that, but this is how teams these days are trying to build. They're trying to build and develop and lock up their own. So, yes, I believe the Red Sox ownership group cares. They're just caring in a different way because they've seen that, hey, whoa, we can win and not have to spend all that money because that's what the Joneses have done. And the Red Sox are trying to keep up with them. That is what I think. That is just me. But that is how I believe that this is being done, that the Red Sox are trying to win, but they're trying to win in a different way than they won before. It's the Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Okay, to the Patriots. The meeting has happened between Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston reports, there is no impasse. The Patriots are on to 2023 with Belichick acknowledging 2022 wasn't ideal and he's being amenable to changes. Don't expect a dog and pony show announcing firings or who's coming in for interviews. Belichick isn't going to put anyone's head on a spike for the pleasure of the masses. But my understanding is offensive coaching reassignments are going to happen, and several offensive coaches are under consideration for the Patriots 2023 staff. That comes from Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston, who is as connected as anybody on the Patriots beat. And what Curran writes is important for a multitude of different reasons. Number one, it's very important and good that Belichick recognizes that offensive changes need to be made. He very easily could have just tried to run it back with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge and hoped that the experience helped them. It's good that he saw what we all saw, that group wasn't good enough. It's good that Bill Belichick saw and admitted to what we all saw, because none of us want to see a Patriots offense in 2023 that looks like the Patriots offense we just watched in 2022. It's also very important that there apparently wasn't any animosity between Belichick and Robert Kraft about all of this. Because one of the only things that could derail Belichick in this offseason is if Kraft tried to force him into changes and Belichick didn't think that changes need to be made. And if that's not an issue, then that is a win for the Pats. For so long, organizational alignment was important to the Patriots and all their success. And it seems like, at least in terms of the thought process, we are there again where organizational alignment, we have it. And that's what you want. So now it's kind of on to the rest of the offseason now. What exactly happens to the coaching staff, okay? Is Bill O'Brien going to come in and call the plays? How about Cliff Kingsbury? How about Zach Robinson of the Rams? We can get to some of that tomorrow. I spoke about it with Freddie Coleman of ESPN Radio today. We had some thoughts on the Pats coaching staff, so you can find that interview on the podcast channel. And again, I think we'll do more of that tomorrow. But the biggest thing now is that there is, alleged cohesion among Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick about the plan to move forward. That is the important thing. And I said, you hear this in the intro of the Brady Farkas Show every day, and I believe it. Next season is when Bill Belichick gets on the hot seat. Because the Patriots have not won a playoff game in 4 years. Right? Brady's last year, they didn't win one in 2019. They didn't win with Cam in 2020. They didn't win last year. They got beat by Buffalo, and this year they didn't make it. 4 years without a playoff run. In that time, Bill Belichick has let Tom Brady go only to see Tom Brady win a Super Bowl. Has had a team that wilted at the end of 2021. Had a team that wilted at the end of 2022 and did not even make the playoffs. Bill Belichick has also had a bad run here with the offensive coaching hires If he has what appears to be another bad run next season, then Robert Kraft will take notice. There's also been some foolhardy spending done in the past. Nelson Aguilar didn't live up to his contract. Neither did Jonnu Smith. We could argue that Hunter Henry hasn't either. So there's been some potentially foolish spending with some poor coaching decisions here for the Patriots. If Robert Kraft senses another bad offseason, another bad draft, another bad handling, then that is where the hot seat comes in. Now, undoubtedly, Robert Kraft does not want to fire Bill Belichick. He wants Bill Belichick to break Don Shula's all-time wins record, and he wants him to do it with the Patriots. I have no doubt in my mind about that. But if Robert Kraft sees next year an organization going south, I do not believe that he will hesitate to get rid of Bill Belichick at the end of next season. So what Bill Belichick does in this offseason is incredibly important. How the Patriots handle and spend in free agency. Can they put together another good draft? Last year's draft looked pretty good. The 2020 draft has borne some fruits as well. Can they put together a better and more competent offensive coaching staff? These are all things that now Bill Belichick is going to be graded on like he's never been graded before. It was always just, in Belichick we trust. I do not believe it is that way moving forward. I think Robert Kraft has Bill Belichick under a microscope. Under a microscope. Text says, Brady, thanks. Why now? ? I don't know what you mean, why now? I don't know if you mean about the Red Sox or about Bill Belichick or about the Patriots or whatever. So clarify that and then I can answer it. But this is the time where Belichick is going to be graded like he's never been graded before. And I'd have to think that Belichick is smart enough to realize that. And that, Belichick wants to break Don Shula's record. Belichick wants to coach with his kids. Belichick, I wouldn't think wants to move on from New England. I think he wants this to be his last and final stop. And if he wants that and all the perks that come with that, then he's going to have to be better than he's been over the last couple of years. It is the Brady Farkas Show at WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. All right, let's see. High school basketball is going to come up here in about 10 minutes. Brent Curtis on the call there from Montpelier. Harwood taking on Montpelier. That's a 6:45 start tonight for us, 7 o'clock tip-off. UVM men's basketball is down under 5 minutes to play here at UMass Lowell. The Catamounts had a lead early in this one. They now trail by 5, 24-19 is the score right now. This is a tough one for UVM. I am not going to be as particular as I usually am here. I don't want to say critical. Critical is not the right word. I believe honest is the right word about UVM's performance, right? I believe that I am very, very honest about where the Catamounts are at. This one, just win. You're out TJ Hurley. You're out Finn Sullivan. You're on the road against a team that's expected to be top 3 in this league. Just win. Okay? I'm not going to be overly particular and overly critical on how it gets done. Just get it done. Now, if UVM is going to win this game, they are going to need a performance from Dylan Penn. And look, Dylan Penn's played every minute of this game right now and has no points and is 0 of 3 from the floor. They can't have that. They cannot have that. Dylan Penn has got to be a catalyst for this team. And right now, Robin Duncan has 7 of the 19 points, 5 from Matt Veretto, 3 from Iliri Iofallie, 2 from Aaron Deloney. Like Deloney and Penn, they've got to finish this game in at least double figures for UVM to have a chance. Right now, UVM is now down 9, 28-19. That's not where you want to be. UVM wants to go into halftime, I think, within 5 or less, and right now they're down 9. Not a spot you want to be in. Not a spot you want to be in at all. You look at kind of the rest of where we're at right now, similar problems, right, for UVM. They're shooting 31% from the floor. They're 2 of 7 from 3. They are being out-rebounded. They've been out-rebounded in this one by 5. So the usual problems for UVM are the usual problems. But you've got to find a way to get this under 5 by the time halftime comes, and you got to find a way to get Aaron Deloney and Dylan Penn going. I said it yesterday. John Becker's got to find the button for his veterans, right? It's a different team than a year ago, but it is a veteran-laden team. Robin Duncan, 5th-year senior. Aaron Deloney, 4th-year senior. 5th-year senior for Cam Gibson. 5th-year senior for Sullivan. 5th-year senior for Dylan Penn. These guys are capable of getting they're capable of taking criticism, and they're capable of turning that into motivation. These guys need to be better. They need to be better, as we move forward. And this is a game that is tough to win. UVM's got to find a way to get something from their veteran leadership groups, because that is tough. UVM women did win today. Good win for them, although UMass Lowell is horrific on the women's side. The Cats had to narrowly squeak this one out. Too close for comfort for Lisa Kresge, I'm sure. UVM won this one 42-37 was the final. So a low-scoring, ugly affair in an 11 a.m. Time slot there at Patrick Gym. Emma Utterback was the only player in double figures for the Catamounts. She had 14. Catherine Gilwee of CVU had 6. Bella Vito had 6 as well. Delaney Richardson had 7, but Utterback certainly was the star of this one, playing 36 of 40 minutes and having 14 points. That is going to do it for us here on the Brady Farkas Show. The show brought to you in part by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training online at ProDriverCDL.com. You can check the podcast out on the Apple Podcast app as well as Spotify. And again, ProDriverCDL.com is Vermont's premier truck driver training school. They work with Class A CDLs, Class B CDLs, passenger and advanced skills training as well. The interview with Tom Caron available on our podcast channel. Freddie Coleman the same. We will be back at it again tomorrow with Buster Olney of ESPN. He'll talk more Red Sox with us. Takeaways from the Devers presser. Some thoughts about how Story's injury impacts the rest of the lineup. We'll get the answers from Buster. He will be with me at about 5:45. Texter says to me, Brady, we need to get a 3 or 4 hour sports show back. Well, we got 90 minutes. Come join us every single day. High school basketball is next on DEV.
Everyone starts their home projects in spring, but let me let you in on a secret. January is the perfect time to kick off your solar. Hi, Tara from Green Mountain Solar. We always see a big rush of people interested in solar once the warm weather hits, but then they wait for their appointment and install. When you start now, you're setting yourself up to capture as many sunny days in 2023 as possible. At Green Mountain Solar, we strive for the best solar experience in Vermont, starting with a free in-person site visit. Nothing beats the level of service you get from a real person coming out to assess your home or business. When we come out to you, we learn more about your unique property and energy needs. We're right there to answer all of your questions and ask about heat pumps, batteries, and EV chargers. Green Mountain Solar wants to help meet all your energy efficiency needs. Our partnership with Efficiency Vermont provides additional value to our customers. Get a head start on your solar goals this winter by going to green-mountain.com.